Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you?
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, good.
Early Eid Mubarak. I think by the time many people listen to this, it'll be Eid for them. So Eid Mubarak to everyone.
Mubarak, yeah,
Yeah.
inshallah. Been busy,
Yeah,
right?
we've been very busy. Yeah. So today we figured we would do something similar to what we've done before, just talk to you guys. But specifically, we're going to talk about everything that's been going on with the Twitter thread and our Rumi was Muslim campaign and kind of give some updates, some feedback to some questions, and inshallah talk about what's going to happen in the future, in the near
Yeah, and
future.
exactly. So people know what we're doing, what the campaign was about, and how we're working together. Because I think some people think we're working separately. So this is a joint
Right.
campaign. So let's explain some background
Yeah,
history and inshallah
sure. So
clarify.
about a week ago, exactly at this time, not this time actually, it was like the middle of the night for me and Saturday time for you. We were talking, and somehow the topic of these fake Rumi translations came up. And me and you are both working on translation. So Zirrar, for those of you who don't know, is working on Iqbal. I'm working on Hafiz and Rumi. And he said, "Why don't we do something campaign related? You know, I've experienced campaigns." And we came up with this idea on the spot. Rumi was Muslim, and I remember we were saying, "Is Muslim? Was Muslim? Was a Muslim, Sufism,
Reclaim not
yeah,
our Rumi.
reclaiming
Yeah.
Rumi, not our Rumi." So we settled. I think I'm really happy now. Rumi was Muslim. So
Yeah.
right there, we bought the domain, and I made the Twitter, and I made the Instagram, and we're like, okay, we'll reach this maybe after Ramzan. When everyone's got a little less on their plate, we'll put this out. And then one day I was laying down in bed, and someone sent me a profile that was a 400,000 follower fake Rumi quotes page. It's called like Rumi quotes or
Wow.
something. And I got really upset. And I'm like, you know what? I spent hours tracking down quotes, translating them, formatting them, researching them, explaining them. And this guy just like writes anything that's fake, and he gets 400,000 or copies from Colin Barks, and he's this huge following misleading people. So I screenshot his profile, and I said, don't follow this guy. This is a fake page, because I had like 40 mutual followers. And then someone said, what do you mean they're fake? And I said, even the bio is fake. So I zoomed in on the bio, and you can see this on my Instagram, Charles, and the story highlights. I zoomed in on the bio, and I said, the quote is a fake quote. And I posted the real one. And then someone then replied to that and said, wait a minute, really? What's going on? And I'm like, oh my God, there's still people who, I thought that maybe more people knew about this phenomena. So I
Yeah.
just kept going, and people kept replying. And that story, I just went like 30 slides in. And then an hour later, it was getting closer to iftar time. People started sharing it all over the place. Like it started to get a huge sharing. And my friend, God bless his heart, reached out to me and said, put this on Twitter too. He had been trying to get me to use Twitter for a while. I didn't really care much about Twitter. If you look, my post before the thread had like 5 likes. So I started learning how to post a Twitter thread, and I posted the first 4 posts. And I actually went to do iftar. So if you look at the thread, there's like 3 hours between some of those posts, like a
Yeah.
couple of them, because I just like didn't care. And after iftar, I had like 50 retweets. And I was like, wait, let me finish this faster. And then later that night, like at Sahri time, it had like 5,000 retweets. And I didn't sleep that night. I got 1 hour of sleep because I just kept looking at my phone, retweet,
Yeah.
verified account. And I couldn't believe it, because you and I, we've been talking about Islamic poetry for years, and we have like 10K followers, and all of a sudden there's like 10K retweets in one night. And I was just amazed, like the waves it created,
So
big
what's the issue here? So let's
names.
backtrack for somebody who
Yeah,
doesn't know, what the Twitter campaign was, what the whole thing was.
yeah,
Rumi is Muslim is our Instagram account, which is where we're posting this. But what is the campaign? So 2017, someone wrote an article about the erasure of Islam from Rumi. I came across this about less than a year ago, while I was researching something on, I think on Rumi as well. And I was like, this is crazy. There's translations of Rumi which are so fake. And then I looked in my bookshelf. I have Coleman Barks Rumi too. And I was like, whoa, this is really messed up. So I did a story on this. It kind of took off. People were a little bit upset by it, and then it kind of faded down and disappeared, like the other article. And this happens every now and then. People talk about this and it disappears. Yet we could never really create big waves where people were talking about Rumi for more than a week. So you got angry about this and you posted this, but this time it seems to be a
for some
sustained
reason,
campaign,
subhanallah, a Ramadan
and the
miracle.
timing was right.
Seriously.
Um,
Yeah. So
and yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, and the issue essentially for me was, for people watching, is the issue was why are you removing Islam from Rumi when Rumi was very, very Muslim and Orthodox Muslim? Because
Right.
I grew up thinking maybe Rumi wasn't even Muslim, maybe he was gay, maybe he was doing all these weird things with Tabriz, and I never paid attention to him. And then when I read this article about the origin of Islam from Rumi, it made sense. This was done
Right.
intentionally.
Right.
And so I got really angry, and I said, this just can't go unnoticed. We have to speak about this. So similarly, I think you had that shake up too when you saw that
Right.
account huge following. And then I said to you, no, campaign is how we sustain this. We can't just have what I did
Right.
was, you rant about this, it goes up and then disappears again. And I've
Yeah,
been doing this with Nat Geo for a while, and the campaigns is the way to go. You want to make change, you just sustain it. It's
exactly.
slow, but
Yeah.
you just keep going. So this time, I think the idea was we won't let this go. We do our translations, our work, and this is something we'll sustain for a long time.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think
We can't
about it.
ultimately we can't just let this be. And that was the first story on the page at Room was Muslim on Instagram. I said this is not just a viral Twitter thread. Don't think that we're forgetting about this. And because I think some people thought that it just went viral on accident. We were thinking about this project for a while. We had
Yeah,
the website. We pushed the website out at a rush. We stayed up all night one night because we're like, we better get this out sooner now that the thread is out. But this has been a thing that's been in the works, and it's a long road ahead. I told people this is not just a retweet. Oh my God, this is a lot of work. Hundreds of thousands of maybe millions of copies of the books are physical. There's ebooks.
yeah,
There are quotes everywhere on the internet. If you just Google Rumi quote, the first 20 dozen pages on Google photos will just Google pictures will just be of these false quotes. So this is going to take a sustained campaign, a sustained effort from us. But subhanAllah, we're seeing the first steps. First was a thread, then big Islamic personalities started retweeting it. Random Americans were retweeting it. People from verified accounts, journalists, then crossing the Arab world, the Urdu-speaking world, the Southeast Asian community of Muslims. And then, on Instagram, subhanAllah, pages are messaging us saying we had no idea we're spreading these quotes. So we're getting there, but it's going to be a group effort. And not just me
yeah.
and you, but everyone who feels passionate about Rumi, every Muslim needs to put in work for this, because we
Yeah,
can't
and for
let
anyone wondering
Rumi
why this is
change.
even a big deal, because people tell me
Mm-hmm.
like, what is a big deal? Imagine reading Shakespeare your entire life and realizing what you've been reading wasn't Shakespeare. For anybody
Mm-hmm.
who's a fan of
Yeah.
Shakespeare, it's the same thing with Rumi. You think you own Rumi as a Muslim, as a scholar, as a saint, and then one day you find out on a Twitter thread everything you've ever known about Rumi was fake. This is how
Yeah.
big this is,
Yeah.
and the size of this. And I say, and I always say this: this is a huge deception. This is not even a small thing. This is literally the entire world has been, this is a whole mosque on Rumi, and it's not a true face of
Right. Right.
Rumi. So what's the plan? What are we going to do with this campaign going forward?
The plan is we sustain this and we
Yeah,
find ways to make it even bigger. So right now our means is a social media platform where we're spreading this and people are sharing it to one another. But who knows, maybe one day we can contact a publisher, we can contact HarperCollins and say, can you answer as to why you've published so many of these books and why? And in fact, interestingly, Coleman Barks used to describe himself, if I'm not mistaken, as a interpreter or something like that. But it was actually his
yeah,
translator that called him, his publisher that called him the translator, the translator. So we need to say, he's not alone in this. He was produced by a group of people. There was a publisher. There were people around him. The academia was silent. A lot of academics even defended him. People were reaching out to me saying, I took a Rumi class in college, or an Islamic poetry class in college, and our assigned reading for Rumi in a university was Coleman Barks by
yeah,
an Islamic studies professor. So it's not just we need to cancel out these quotes. We also need to look deeper and wider at the institutions that allowed this to happen, the
yeah,
publishers, the academics that were silent, everything. Because it's not just Rumi. They will do this again and again to our personalities, whether it be Muslim or a different colonized or marginalized group. They will chew us up and spit us out. We've been seeing it happen to Native Americans in America with the dream catchers everywhere, the headdresses. They're going to keep doing this. And when you say no, not only will we reverse with this process, we will take him back. We will
yeah,
rip him out of your claws, but we will also start to eat away at these institutions that allow this to occur in the first place. Not
yeah,
only from our side, because the Quran says, stand even against yourselves, right? So we will
yeah,
call each other out in due time to say, why didn't you say something about this? But also the people who on the other side allowed this to happen. We need to say, no, we're Muslims. We're a big group of people. We have money. We have a voice. We won't just stand and allow this to happen.
yeah. And the biggest problem for me is how Muslims are using these versions of Rumi not only to learn and understand
Right.
Rumi, but also teach other Muslims about Islam using Karl Marx. So the layers of problems are many,
Yeah.
and there's potentially a project where we can look at doing work
Right.
translations of
Right.
Rumi.
Right. Yeah.
So I think people are interested in saying, well, we can't read this, what can we read? And so we recommend some books already, but I think there's space and need for, I think, a translation that works
Right.
and
Right.
speaks to the imagination of people, because academic translations is one thing, and
Yeah.
as you said, you're working on a translation of Hafiz and I'm doing
Right.
one of
Right.
Iqbal, and the goal is not to just give you an academic literature translation, is to inspire you and spread
Exactly.
the
Right.
love
Right.
of the message of these poets and saints.
Right.
So this is essentially what we want to do with Rumi: replace all the books in your shelves with Barks, with books that we recommend and books that are
Hmm.
true to Rumi, and
Right.
something
Right.
inshallah
Right.
we can write.
So
Yeah,
the first book that I would recommend, if you have to read something now, is The Masnavi by Jawad Mujaddadi. This is a good book. It's translated well. It rhymes. It's trying to stay true to the spirit. I've read the Masnavi in Persian. I didn't ever read it in English. I figured, why bother? But because I'm recommending this, I'm actually halfway through it now. I started reading yesterday. Now, the issue, like you said, with these books they are well done, but they're very academic. For me, this is difficult to get through because I've read the Persian and the Persian rhymes and it just flows you through it. But this, I
Yeah.
have to work through this. So I would say that there needs to be, like you said, something like what we're doing to be a real version of Coleman Barks. Coleman Barks was good in the sense that someone who doesn't know who Rumi is can read it and it can
Yeah.
read something. Anyone can pick it up and read it. Your grandmother, your cousin, your friend, your neighbor. No one can pick this up and read it. Even me, as someone who's read the original, this is dense to get through. I'll
Yeah, so
admit
that's
that.
not the answer for
Right.
people who are used to memes and quotes. They won't pick up that much
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
say,
So,
"I'm going
so
to read
if you're
stuff like
if you're a
that."
student of Islamic studies, this is good
Yeah,
for you. If you're an academic, you want to get a master's, this is good for you. But if you want something simple, we're working on that. That's what and I tell people when they reach out, we're coming with that soon. So I was working on Hafez and Rumi as was a side project. I was translating some of his quatrains. I've decided to put Hafiz. That's just a full-time goal. Other than keeping these pages and this campaign going, everything else is just dedicated to the Rumi translation right now.
yeah, yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think that's good. So that we can do catch ups more frequently, inform people
Right,
what's going on
inshallah,
in the
yeah.
campaign, how they
Right.
can help us. So at the
Mm-hmm.
moment, we've got a website, rumiwasmuslim.com.
Mm-hmm.
Please visit it. You can donate to the project,
Mm-hmm.
help us do more of this, and inshallah, we can
Right,
slowly
inshallah,
change
yeah.
the direction Rumi is taking
Right,
people's
right.
hearts. And
Mm-hmm.
Ramadan is a blessed month. Maybe this is the time Allah chose
Inshallah.
for us to help elevate the position of Rumi in people's eyes, because he's not a scoundrel. He's not what they tell you he is. Um, and he's a lover of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we
Yeah.
need to make sure that the real Rumi comes out, inshallah.
Inshallah ta'ala. All right. It was good checking in with you. Just the viewers who have not seen us before, maybe, I mean, it's very likely. We do these. We have a lot of these on YouTube, but inshallah, we'll be keeping the ones on Instagram a bit shorter. But if you're interested in this type of back and forth on any topic, we've done a lot. You can go to our YouTube page. I'll link that somehow, and inshallah, you can see our other topics
Inshallah.
in the future. All
Okay.
right. It was nice talking to you.
Speak to you
Assalamu alaikum.
soon. Walaikum
All right.
salam.
Goodbye. All right. That was good. I think we should.